morning, everyone. Welcome to MVUU. My name is Summer Adi, and I will be your pastoral associate for today. Welcome to those of you here in person and those of you watching virtually. Whether you've been here once, twice, a couple hundred times, you are welcome. Wherever you are, whoever you are welcome. Please turn around, wave at the camera to those folks online. Thank you to the many hands that come together to run a service, as well as thank you to those who come in during the week to do behind the scenes work of running things and ensuring things go smoothly. Thank you to our talented music director, Chris Tackett. I heard he's looking for more volunteers for the choir.
I don't know where you heard that.
I don't know where I heard that one from.
Wednesday, 6:30, right here.
Thank you to Joel Yellen as our song leader, to our RE coordinator, Stacy, RE assistant, Kelly, and the volunteers who help run RE. Today, to our audiovisual crew, which includes Vincensky, Lee McMealy, Ann Tatum, Todd McMealy, I think Alex Stuckey, and Chuck Tatum, who's on camera, so thank you. Thank you to our welcoming team who greets us as we come in, as well as our hospitality team who puts together refreshments after service outside. Today's service, and thank you, of course, to Reverend Matthew Foncreri. Small detail. Today's service will be led by him, and he will be giving today's service on a celebration of life by Thich Nhat. When I think of Thich Nhat, I think of washing dishes. There were several quotes around the topic that I'd use at work, and one of them, in his book, Miracle of Mindfulness, he writes, "If while washing dishes we think only of the cup of tea that awaits us, thus hurrying to get the dishes out of the way as if they were a nuisance, then we are not washing the dishes to wash the dishes. What's more, we are not alive during the time we are washing the dishes. In fact, we are completely incapable of realizing the miracle of life while standing at the sink." Thich's work resonates with me as we delve into the topic of grief during the month of October. Last week, we heard about the theme of the arts as a way to explore grief, and I wanted to share the works of Nikita Gill. Gill, a British Indian poet, playwright, and author, released a book called Where Hope Comes From, Poems of Resilience, Healing, and Light. And she wrote it during the pandemic. Poetry allows me to have a different relationship with grief. I'll be sharing several poems by her, and for now, her poem, The Answer. This year, more than most, I have searched for a way to hide despair, in words, in love. Inside a tree's wizened bark, under a stone by the ocean, within a once sacred temple. And still it follows everywhere. When the grief begins to overwhelm me, I ask the sky for relief. The sky smiles and gives me two storm songs. One tells me, "You do not have to be ashamed of your sadness." And the other says, "You must only know to name it when it knocks at your heart's door." Today's chalice lighting, To Carry the Light Forward by Reverend Greg Ward. If we are lucky, we will all get a chance during our life to know someone who becomes for us an exemplar of living. And if we are really lucky, we will recognize how they ended up passing on some of their goodness to us, if we are lucky. But one thing is certain, no one, not one of us, entering this world can escape the cost of living. The price we pay is this: to live in this world, we must accept that someday we will have to die. To love what is alive, we must accept having to lose what we've made precious through our care. To be fully and fiercely human, we must accept having to be breakable and sometimes broken. When we stop to notice how their life gave us a path and a little light to see by, it helps encourages us to help carry that light forward. Though each of us carries forth in this world a small flame, we know that the ability of that light to brighten the world depends upon the many others who learn to walk with it in their hearts. We light this chalice today to honor the living, and life of a truly bright light. Thich Nhat Hanh. Thank you.
I hope you are having a good day already. Whatever your location, be you here or online or sometime in the future watching our recording, I invite you to join me in a mudra. Mudra is like yoga for your hands. It's a movement and a position that's alive in Hindu and Buddhist faiths to bring spiritual focus to this moment. Now, you've witnessed mudras over and over again, perhaps without knowing it. If you just look at the images on our altar, you'll see the placement of palms when someone were to greet you and say namaste. That is the namaste mudra. It acknowledges the inherent worth and dignity of another being. In the figure of the Buddha that's here, it's the Viktara mudra, this symbol. It signifies the sharing of the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. And so I would like to teach you this morning the lotus mudra. So you begin by putting your hands together at the level of your heart, if you'd like to try it out, and you rub your palms gently just to warm them, because that feels good. And then slowly hold them together, almost as a namaste mudra. And then holding your pinkies and your thumbs still together, you will blossom like a lotus. Right there at the level of your heart. Just rest in just a moment of opening your heart, of receiving love and joy and compassion of the universe in this moment. Our opening hymn is number 181, No Matter If You Live Now Near or Far. Joel will lead us. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join your voices together.
No matter if you live now far or near, no matter what your weakness or your strength, there is not one alive we count outside. May deeper joy for all now come at length. May deeper joy for all now come at length. Let none among us by ourselves deceive, nor cultivate in vain a hatred all or part. May never one of us live our rage, nor wish another injury of heart, nor wish another injury of heart. Just as the good mother will protect her children at risk of her own life, so may we nurture an old mindfulness, a boundless heart beyond all fear and strife, a
I invite you now to a time of contemplation, of considering and pondering Thich Nhat Hanh's Buddhist teachings on loss and on grief. I think we know it. Death can be a scary thing. Frightening to some because, of course, we don't really understand what happens to a person, to their thoughts and their feelings, to their personality, to their soul after they die. It can be frightening, of course, to others because there may be a belief that they hold that something bad may happen to the soul after death. There are fears, of course, because for the living it hurts. It hurts to lose someone. We feel grief and we feel heartache because we miss their presence within our lives. Of course, all of this is natural. It's normal. It's human. And teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen Buddhist master from Vietnam, shared that it is also human to not be afraid, and that through sadness we can come to love another so much more than we ever have before. Thich Nhat Hanh died on January 22nd of 2022. And during his 95 years as a teacher and an activist of love and peace, he brought love and he brought peace to our world. With his insights and his wisdom, he prepared us for his death. You see, he had a student who wanted to build a big domed shrine, a stupa, for his teacher's ashes to rest in. Now, Thai is the name that people lovingly called him. Thai said that his student and others would want to put a plaque with the words, "Here lies my beloved teacher." I said to them not to waste the temple land. I suggested that if they insist on building a stupa, that they have a plaque that says, "I am not here." And in case people don't get it, they could add a second plaque, "I am not out there either." And if people still don't understand, then you can write on a third and last plaque, "I may be found in your way of breathing and walking." I may be found in your way of breathing and walking. And in this teaching, Thich Nhat Hanh wanted us to be alive with him, not dead with him. And more than this, he taught us how to be alive with this awareness. If you live without awareness, it is the same as being dead. It's like doing the dishes and focused on what comes next, not just doing the dishes. Because of us, many of us live like dead people because we live without awareness. We carry our dead bodies with us and circulate throughout the world. We are pulled into the past, or we are pulled into the future. We are caught by our projects or our despair, or even our anger and rage. We are not truly alive, he teaches. We are not inhabited by awareness of the miracle of being alive at this moment. Of course, he didn't mean that we all walk around like undead zombies, but he meant that if we were alive in this moment, the past and the future wouldn't pull us away. We would just be open to the gifts of now. Thai showed us how to be alive in everything we do, from washing the dishes to engaging in social action and environmental justice. Thai taught us how to always be aware of ourselves, awake to the interdependence and engaged in life. And we can do that now. We don't have to wait. Here together, or no matter where or when you are joining us, we can be awake. If you want to try it with me, just gently rub your palms together. Feel the warmth of your own body. Blossom like the lotus. And together with all that is in the universe and the world in this very moment, be awake. As you feel comfortable holding this or resting, I invite you now to a time of silent meditation. As we enter into this brief time together, I invite you to listen for the ringing of the bell. You can always mark a beginning when I strike it, but when does the ringing end? Does the ringing ever end? Let us share in silence with open hearts.
I offer you, can you hear me? Yes. I offer today a reading, The Good News by Thich Nhat. The Good News. They don't publish the good news. The good news is published by us. We have a special edition every moment, and we need you to read it. The good news is that you are alive, and the linden tree is still there, standing firm in the harsh winter. The good news is that you have wonderful eyes to touch the blue sky. The good news is that your child is there before you, and your arms are available. Hugging is possible. They only print what is wrong. Look at each of our special editions. We always offer the things that are not wrong, and we want you to benefit from them and help protect them. The dandelion is there by the sidewalk, smiling its wondrous smile, singing the song of eternity. Listen, you have ears that can hear it. Bow your head, listen to it. Leave behind the world of sorrow and preoccupation and get free. The latest good news is that you can do it.
Chris's interlude was by Billy Strayhorn, and it's entitled The Lotus Blossom. We didn't have that on the screen, but it really felt important to share that with you all. Thank you, Chris. The day my mother died, I wrote in his journal, a serious misfortune in my life arrived, and I suffered for more than 1 year after her passing away. And one night in the highlands of Vietnam, I was sleeping in the hut in my hermitage, and I dreamed of my mother. I saw myself sitting with her. We were having a wonderful talk. She looked young and beautiful, and her hair was flowing down. It was so pleasant to sit there and talk to her as if she had never died. When I woke up, it was about 2 a.m, and I felt very strongly that I had never lost my mother. The impression that my mother was still with me was very clear, and I understood then. The idea of having lost my mother was just an idea. It was obvious in that moment that my mother was always alive in me. I opened the door and I went outside. The entire hillside was bathed in moonlight. It was a hill covered with tea plants, and my hut was set behind the temple halfway up. Walking slowly in the moonlight through the rows of tea plants, I noticed my mother was still with me. She was the moonlight caressing me, as she had done so often, very tender, very sweet, wonderful. Each time my feet touched the earth, I knew my mother was there. I knew my body was not mine, but the living continuation of my mother and my father and my grandparents and my great-grandparents and all of my ancestors. Those feet that I saw as my feet were actually our feet. Together, my mother and I were leaving footprints in the damp soil. And from that moment on, the idea that I had lost my mother no longer existed. All I had to do was look at the palm of my hand, or feel the breeze on my face, or the earth under my feet, to remember that my mother is always with me, available at any time. From Thich Nhat Hanh's book, No Death, No Fears. What happens when someone dies? I mean, raise your hand if you really know. That's what I thought. I want to put my hand down as well. There are so many beliefs that have arisen over time. It's a question that's at the issue of the origins of human history. What happens to the essence of our bodies after it stops living? Is there an afterlife, an eternal blessing, or some eternal curse? Is there a transference of energy within the universe where nothing can be created and nothing is destroyed. Is there nothing? As Unitarian Universalists, we have no one teaching, no doctrine that you must believe to answer this age-old question. We will not decide what you believe. As the Reverend Rod Richards, former minister of this congregation, dear friend of mine, and will be here in April preaching on one of our Sunday mornings. He says, what you believe is so important to us as Unitarian Universalists, we will never dictate it to you. Instead, as a people who teach, what we are engaged in is life, in loving relationships, in a covenant, here and right now. Founded in love, our covenants name how it is that we will live, how we will walk, how we will move together in this life as a faith community, as an association of congregations. And held in this covenantal relationship, when death comes among us, here in a congregation, we mourn and we celebrate. Not because we know some answer, but because we know that when someone's body dies, we know what happens to us. We know what happens to the living. We might be afraid for a time together. We might mourn and cry together. But we will always celebrate the love that we have shared. We stay in relationship this way with all of those who have passed. In a sacred and loving relationship, a covenant with the dead. Our personal relationship, of course, is different. It's changed, but still loving. And that process of our shared mourning is so that we might learn that truth. We're never out of relationship. It can always be more love. It is learning that death only stops our being present to another person's body. It does not strip the meaning we have in one another's lives. Death can never stop the love we share. And Thich, he believed this in a slightly different way. He believed in reincarnation. In Buddhism, reincarnation is the cycle of rebirth after a death. Thich's facet of Buddhism, the Zen tradition in Vietnam, acknowledges those teachings, but does not emphasize them over living in the present moment. Zen says, do not be concerned about the past or the future, about your past births or future lives. Now is the moment to be awake and alive to the very miracle of living. In Thich's own words, we cannot conceive of the birth of anything. There is only continuation. Please look back even further, and you will see that you not only exist in your father and in your mother, but you also exist in your grandparents and in your great-grandparents. As I look more deeply, he says, I can see that in a former life I was a cloud. This is not poetry. It's science. Why do I say that in a former life I was a cloud? Because I am still a cloud. Without that cloud, I cannot be here. I am a cloud. I am the river. I am the air in this very moment. So I know that in the past, I have been a cloud and a river and in the air. I was the rock. I was the minerals in the water. It's not a question of belief in reincarnation. This is the history of life on earth. We have been gas and sunshine, water, fungi, and plants. We have been single-celled beings. The Buddha once said that in one of his former lives, he was a tree. He was a fish. He was a deer. And these are not superstitious things. Every one of us has been a cloud. deer, a bird, a fish, and we continue to be these things not just in our former lives. I called this teaching interbeing, which goes much further beyond our own seventh principle. We affirm and promote the interdependent web of all existence and our part in it. You see, our teaching names the deep reliance that each has with our ancestors, with nature, with the universe. It is the interdependence of all singular beings. Thay's teaching of interbeing is about oneness. We exist as one with our ancestors, as one with nature, and as one with the universe, right now. He taught mindful meditation so that this teaching was always present for a person, no matter what they do, from driving a car to brushing their teeth to washing the dishes, or struggling to bring justice to the world. Awakened to this oneness, the experience of being human and alive becomes joy. That's all. It's just a little bit of joy. It becomes wonder that you are one with all. And it becomes freedom to be alive now. Awakened to interbeing, life is love. Thich Nhat Hanh has been a presence in my life, says Bell Hooks, the brilliant feminist writer and social activist. He's been a teacher and a guide for more than 20 years, but she had never met him. We never met or had spoken to one another, and yet his work was ever present in my work. And this reality echoes the experience of many Unitarian Universalists when regarding Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings. Bell Hooks did eventually meet Thay and shared their encounter in her essay, Building a Community of Love. In the course of their meeting, they spoke of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an important influence on Hooks and on Thay. Martin Luther King was among us as a brother, as a friend, and as a leader. He related to her, even though he had been dead for several years. He was able to maintain love alive. When you touch him, said Thay, you touch a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva in Buddhist teachings is a person who's released from reincarnation but chooses to return until all beings are free. His understanding, Dr. King's understanding and love was enough to hold everything for him. He tried to transmit his insight and his love to the community, and maybe we have not received it enough because we clung to him as a person. We did not bring the essence of what he was teaching into the community. So now that he's no longer here, we might feel a loss. And yet we have to be aware that the crucial transmission that he was making was not the transmission of power or authority or of position, but the transmission of love. The essence of MLK, his teachings and his life in Thay's Buddhist belief is love. Active, justice-seeking love. And it lives on after death. A gift to all those who would, through his essence and example, be one with justice today. And we can. I won't put it on you. I can. And I do get caught up in the power and the authority and position of a single person. So that when they do something in the world, I feel suffering, or when they're departed, I grieve, as if their gift was gone. But Thay tells us there's a mistake there. The body may have died, but love lives on in the oneness of interbeing. When someone dies, that you have loved, who has loved you, with their smile, their laughter, their wisdom, or perhaps even the struggle for justice. It lives on in you. And it means that you will be here after your end, present through the love that you have offered to others. It means that I will be here long after I'm gone, present always in love. And it means even if you have never met or spoken to Thich Nhat Hanh, even if you've never heard of him before today, his essence is with you in this moment. His gift is unending, enduring love. And you can feel Thai's presence in his words right this moment if you would like to. Underneath every chair in this room, there is a card with a teaching from Thai. You can go ahead and find it if you want and help each other to find it. They're taped under the front. Online, we will put up a slide, a teaching of Thai's that I chose for you this morning. Now, I would like these cards back. Now, I know, some of you are thinking, no, this is a good one. I want to keep it. Take a picture with your phones. Please just leave them on your chairs after you're done with them. But know that the essence of Thai, written in just a few words, is only for you. This is only for you today. All of those who are gone, they're with us now. They are here in our bodies. They're alive in our hearts, and we are one with them in the essence of love. And in love, we find joy in this moment, celebrating the life of Thich Nhat Hanh. In love, we find the wonder of his ongoing teachings that bring us to life in this moment. In love, we have chosen the freedom to know that we can be who we are this moment. We can choose to be the blessing and sacred relationship of covenant. We can be that for one another. We, of course, won't dictate that choice to you. Each of us must decide from our own awareness of this miracle of life how it is we will bring our essence to others, to nature, and to our world. In love, may we choose to be alive in this moment and be well beyond the end of our days. May it be so. Our closing hymn is number 183, The Wind of Change Forever Blown. We are singing just a few of all of the verses, and Joel will lead us through them. The words will be projected. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join your voices together.
This is a chorale. You are a choir. Follow the hands. How shall we reach the great unknown? Nirvana of your lotus throne.
Please be seated.
Thank you all for joining us today as we continue to journey through grief. I end with another poem by Nikita Gill, Awaken. Across the shooting stars and galaxies, across black holes and all mad, sad things, across the joyful laughter of new parents and the tragedy of losing someone you love, across the oceans with their sharks and secrets, and across an atmosphere both full of satellites and full of space dust, across the devastation of a world that has known trauma better than it has known healing for too long, across the silence that brings pain and the songs that ease hearts, across the knowing and the unknowing of all things, across depression, anxiety, and panic too, across the people we once loved and the people we will love. You were made for fiercer, better things, and I promise this grief too is only fleeting. Please consider joining us today as we exit those doors. We have the wooden bowls for the work of the church, as well as the woven basket, which this month is for UU Jazz. And so UU Jazz, the mission of UU Jazz is to engage Arizona UUs in justice making through strengthening congregational social justice ministry, connecting UU activists and congregations across the state, partnering with like-minded justice organizations, and empowering UUs to work for socially just public policy. We have an event that you might have seen in the newsletter, the Future of Us event. Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto is a UU minister and an activist for racial, trans, queer, and disability justice. They will be speaking about our future and reading their poetry. I believe they'll be at MVUU on the 19th at 5, and there is a virtual event as well if anyone wants to consider tickets for that. Today is our last class for the Renew UU, How Does MVU Work? Today it'll be hosted with Erin and Sally, who are over there. And finally, we have a tarot class next Sunday, October 15th, with Alice Fath. And so please reach out to Reverend Matthew if anyone is interested in attending. We release the chalice today, releasing the flame. The reading is We Cannot Extinguish the Love by Reverend Greg Ward. We have come to share the loss we have felt in Ty's passing and some examples of the joy we carry from his life. This we have done. But before we extinguish this chalice, let us acknowledge that we cannot extinguish the love he showed us, or the memory of him, or the love we carry forward. This congregation and many other lives have absorbed so much light from Ty. This congregation will continue to reflect that light into the lives of the people who enter your doors, even those who come years from now. May we always be able to see that light as it is reflected in all we do. And remember and smile, knowing his light is shining from us too. Thank you, and blessed be.
In the days to come, you will catch the sight of Ty in the movement of love around you. You will see him in the actions of strangers, in the deeds of friends, and in the smile of laughter of family. But most of all, you will witness him inside yourself, in your love, and in your actions, and in your deeds, in your own smile and laughter. This is how Ty lives on through us, because we will never forget that he lived. So as we close, I offer you these words from the poet Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing that your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, let it go. We let you go, Thich, not from the embrace of our hearts, but from this life that you may be freed of all earthly bindings, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. May you be free to know the eternal in joy and in peace and in everlasting love. And so we go in quietness now to live with one another and the blessings and the peace that passes all of our understanding. May we go to love. May we go to live. May we always go together.